Life is a gamble, and I'm ready to show my cards.
I'm the comeback queen of Bravocon. And I forgot the other part.
I love it. You know what? That is very much in line with the experience of this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
You guys, it's Andy's Girls. We're doing that. This is very exciting.
Yay.
We're recording this for AG's, listening to AG Classic. We also have video forthcoming. So if you guys want to actually, I feel this is so fancy. And you've been to the Clavas, and I can't get enough. I have to introduce this guest before we talk a little bit about the swap that you guys are listening to and will be watching. You know her as co-host of Daily Blast Live and NAACP Awards-nominated host of Comeback with Erica Cobb, a podcast and social media show. I know her as a friend and fellow Bravocolic. We're running on 2 hours sleep, but I have all of the time in the world for this conversation. Erica Cobb, welcome back to Andy's Girls.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Dame. Let me just say to my comeback kids, the comeback community, about Dame Sarah Galli, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this beautiful woman came into my life.
Thank you.
Right after, like in the middle kind of the social justice movement, and you are a content creator, Bravo Psychology, Andy's Girls, host of Andy's Girls, but you are also a woman who walks it like she talks it. You are an advocate for so many people, and I really appreciated your voice in that space during that time. And ever since then, you're my girl. I listen to Andy's Girls every single week. She's also a brilliant published writer, and I appreciate you so much.
Well, first off, #taste. You know what I'm saying? We see each other. We love each other.
We do.
We have some fucking shit to discuss.
We
so
do.
I feel like we need to dive in. First off, we're recording this from a unnamed hotel somewhere on
by the time we post, it'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it, but you guys will never know the answer. I'm keeping that to myself. We're going to save it as a to be continued for our reunion, which we will do probably tomorrow.
Love it.
We're going to see what happens. So we are just wrapping up day 2 of Bravocon. What is your sense of things? You've attended Bravocon before, you've covered it before. Yeah. So what's the difference between prior Bravocons and what you're feeling as of right now with 2023?
Well, my Bravocon experience is a little different because I'm not really in the rooms with the activations, the panels, and all of that. I go in specifically to go into the media room, and then all I do for 2 days are interviews. Sunday, I might get a chance to go and see what's going on. But what I noticed immediately this year, Bravocon being in Vegas as opposed to Javits Center in New York, was the bathroom situation was exponentially better.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, we could actually use one.
Better.
I know. Number one, very important.
Yeah, beautiful facility. Vegas, not that New York doesn't do these things, but it's like Vegas, this is an everyday thing, dealing with all of these people and all of these different needs. And I just feel like there's a hospitality thing where I felt like people might feel like they were a little bit more thought about here.
So did you go in 2019?
I didn't go in 2019. I only went last year. So
2019 was sort of the miracle year because we had no idea what to expect. There really wasn't any information shared. So we went in thinking I don't know what this is going to be like and if I'm going to enjoy or survive the experience. Yeah. And then it was a complete dream. It was perfectly sized, everything. They knocked it out of the park. And when they announced another iteration of it and announced the Javits Center, I got a little nervous about the huge increase in capacity. And there were so many moments last year where I just felt a little anxious because it was just, there was a lot of energy, not always positive, just that I saw from attendees, people doing literal plank position at the Beverly Hills panel.
Yes, I heard about that.
Grown-ass women pitching a fit, which is just, save that for Bravo. You know what I'm saying? I want to watch it. I don't want to be in it. And if I want to be in it, I want it to be with Luann. I don't want it to be with Trish. You know what I'm saying?
Trish.
I mean, shout out to all the Trishes in the world. You know, I'm an ally, but I don't know how I really felt about that. Although there were, of course, like great moments from last year. And this year I was talking about it with a member of the Bravo team, and I've talked about it with a bunch of fellow content creators. This very well may be my favorite year.
Yeah.
I thought 2019 was impossible to eclipse, but the energy is great. All of the attendees are great. It's really well staffed. They got rid of 3 levels because SVIP to VIP to GA was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just having VIP and GA, perfect. It feels like everything is seamless. The space itself is great. There's plenty of room. I never felt overwhelmed except for 3 seconds trying to make my way through the maze of getting in the room where it happened at the New York panel, which I want to talk to you about. But I really, I'm loving it. It's my first time in Vegas.
I know. So, of course, I listen to Sarah's podcast, Andy's Girls, all the time.
Thank you.
And this was really a labor of love to get here.
And money. I mean, it was a labor of cash if we're keeping it 100.
But you also were like, I've never been to Vegas, and I don't know if I ever, really had a desire to go to Vegas.
And I can tell you confidently, I absolutely did not. No, this is not my journey. If I want to gamble away money, I look at my checking account. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know how to spend money. I do not feel in any way comfortable losing it.
That's fair.
So
that's fair.
The idea of going, I've never gambled before. I gambled last night for the very first time.
Really?
Yeah, I used someone else's money as well. I should.
Well, yes.
And was with some friends, and someone gave me a 20, put it into the machine, and then at one point, I mean, I thought I hit the jackpot because I won like a couple dollars, but the way the machines work, all the bells, when you win 10 cents, it's like you think you're winning a million because all the things, which is how they get you. And I screamed so loudly because I thought I had really hit it. So security came over because they thought that I had hit the jackpot. So they just wanted to check and see. And so I had to be like, I did because I put in 20 and then we got to cash out with 59, which we then lost minutes later with roulette. And because my driver's license, listen, don't do this at home, kids, but I had to travel with another form of ID because I forgot to renew my driver's license.
Oh my gosh.
So, but when I'm like going to the casino, I'm just, even though I am and will always remain spiritually mid-20s plus,
yes,
I don't think people are really checking the date because it goes, when was I born? The late 90s? Is that how that works? So it's like at that point, they don't give a shit. But the person at the roulette table where we lost the money immediately said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have another form of ID?" And I said, essentially, I have an Instagram and I have a business card. And she said, "I'm sorry, you can't play." And I was like, all right, well, joke's on you because I didn't even know how. And so the friend that I was with sat down and she looked at me and she's like, "Oh, you can't stand here." Because they couldn't verify my age. And since I am ageless by Ramona, which is probably one of maybe 2 times she will be mentioned over the course of this conversation and hopefully ever again. And then my friend went to play and he said, "Oh, we lost." And we started to walk away and the person, the dealer, started laughing and she's like, "No, we didn't start yet." So then we did lose. Then we did. We lost it all immediately.
And then that happened.
That happened. But I feel like that's kind of the journey is like, okay, I gambled that one time. I did it because I thought it was really funny. We were not welcomed we got denied at Guy Fieri's, Cheese Hall? What's the name of his? Blazing Hot Burgers, whatever the name of it. Flavor Town.
They got denied.
Yeah, they said that they were at capacity and it was almost empty. And then I thought, this is hitting bottom. Is I can't even go to get a joke photo. And I could have used my passport to get to Flavor Town.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing, though. It wasn't that it was overpopulated or booked with people. It was overpopulated and booked with all of the freaking ingredients in the world on every single thing that they serve. I don't understand. I don't understand that restaurant. Can we just stick to...
Have you actually been there?
Well, I went to like don't they have like the ones in the air, like some Guy Fieri like
With the
restaurant in the
tips.
airport?
Matthew McConaughey's dear close friend.
Yeah, and I was like, what? I just want the burger. Like, why does it have to have 17 different things on top of it?
Maybe
it's like there's
mask
too
the
much
burger.
flavor. Flavor Town is overpopulated, and that's the reason why you couldn't get in.
Well, spoiler alert, he does give you a little bit of a clue about what you're going to experience with the name of the restaurant being Flavor Town.
Yeah.
So I feel like he
Every
probably
flavor.
thinks he might be interesting on like the Real Housewives of New Jersey. I could see a little Guy Fieri action.
Yeah.
So listen, we've talked a little bit about gambling because we literally have to. And Bravocon in and of itself sometimes feels like a little bit of a gamble it's a little bit of a leap of faith, especially for folks who are traveling. So I have to ask you, noting that you were in the media room for most, if not all of your time, was there a panel that you wish that you had been in the room to see?
Oh, that's tough.
Okay.
Because I'm a person, like, I'm a Bravo purist.
Amen.
Like I do get into the like enjoyment of like the storyline outside of the storyline, but I feel like with the panels, if two people are feuding and then you're seeing their relationship on the panel before we see it play out on television, I almost feel like it's a bit of a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there would have been a panel. Dubai girls were very activated. They were trying, like they were on.
Were they?
Yes. But I think they're also trying to just drum up,
bless
a
their
lot of
hearts.
anticipation and
Yeah.
stuff.
Do you think they'll be successful?
It's interesting because I didn't speak to all of them, but I spoke to Caroline Brooks and Chanel Ayan. Now, Brooks is a chameleon. Like, she kind of fits in with everything, and I'm not saying that in a shady way.
Yeah.
It just, she's kind of a little bit of everything, right? Chanel Ayan is like bigger than the show.
Yeah.
And
she really is.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic because, we're still just going to wait and see what happens season 2, but we need more to be invested in for sure.
As a Bravo fan, was there a difference for you in someone that you were able to interview and chat with through Bravocon, while covering Bravocon? Other ways of saying being out in the room where it happens. Was there someone that you were just genuinely looking forward to getting the chance to chat with as a Bravo fan, and someone that you were excited to chat with as a journalist? Was there a difference between the two names who come to mind?
Yeah, I was eager to talk to Andy.
Great.
Because I thought that it was important to at least try to broach the question of the reality reckoning. It was interesting though, and this is like super inside baseball, we're like a little behind the scenes, but another person that was covering carpet asked him a series of questions, and it was like he shut down. Like, it was 1 to 3 word answers.
Wow.
And I really wanted to ask him some like other important questions about, the journey of single dadhood, because that's a voice that we don't hear that often. The surrogacy and all of that for men. So I didn't want him to shut down. So what I ended up doing was talking about it from how he kind of alluded to this idea of all of these people potentially getting canceled, or what worked 15 years ago doesn't work now, and he talked about it in his book Daddy Diaries. And so I brought it up that way, about it being like a change in climate, to get him to talk more about it. I don't know if it was the most effective conversation, but I do appreciate, I got a little bit of a soundbite about that. Someone that I was really looking forward to, well, I can tell you something I didn't anticipate happening.
Please.
Emily from OC. I never really had a connection to Emily, but I was talking to Gina, who's been on our show multiple times on Daily Blast Live. And then I asked asked Emily a question about changing the course of her life, like deciding to be a stay-at-home mom and stuff. And she got a little emotional about her children because it took her a long time and she struggled to have them. And she got a little choked up. And then I looked at her and I started bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, I cannot cry now. But I told her because I'm just a couple weeks out from finishing, or like about a month out from finishing IVF. And so when she said that, I was like, oh my God, like, and we're like we're all crying on the carpet.
Oh my
and I was like, no, she's like, please DM me. And I'm like, I'm going to. Like, so now she's like one of my favorite people ever because she's like, it's a sisterhood journey. I'll support you. And I'm like, thank you, Emily. Like, crazy. Yeah, it wasn't on my, and I said, I'm like, this was not on my Bravocon bingo card to cry on the carpet. It was the craziest experience. That's never happened to me.
But that is incredible, and it's a credit to you and to her to be able to unite with shared vulnerability, that like you felt safe with her, she felt safe with you. And that's, to me, the best case scenario, not only as someone covering the event, but also as a fan and a woman. I mean, these are the kinds of conversations that are really important and incredibly valuable, is to say, I'm going through this thing, or I connected with what you showed on Orange County or what you showed on the carpet, and both of you felt comfortable and safe and emotionally honest with each other to have a moment. I mean, that's incredible. And that's genuinely a credit to both of you.
Well, the truth is that watching these, and that's why I love your show so much, because it talks about the humanity of what we're watching. And I think that we've obviously, and some people will joke like, not another IVF journey. But for some of us, it's important to see someone go through it and understand that it may not be a linear thing. And so actually this weekend, I'm posting only the content about IVF, surrogacy, all of those from the Bravo celebrities, because I think a part of their story has helped me with mine.
That gets to the heart of why I love Bravo. I mean, it's the knowledge that there's so much value that can come from this, and the fact that you're creating additional value with the connection to the audience and helping educate people and families and women. I think that's amazing, and it's a passion. It's like, what better way to talk about something that's meaningful to you and important to you, and also connected to this Bravo universe. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I do have to admit that I did also shed a tear today with the Bravo Lab. Potentially unexpected to Andy's Girls listeners, but I went to Bravo Palooza, which is this room within, the world and sphere of Bravocon, where it's like a much, much smaller crowd. There's like little bites and a bar and a bunch of Bravo Lebs, like let's say 5 or so, and you get an hour to just mix and mingle with them, and they're essentially there the entire time.
Yeah.
So it was Phaedra, Katie Maloney from Pump Rules, and her mom Terry, who I immediately went over and was like, "You're an icon." And Allie from Pump Rules, Sutton from Beverly Hills, Teresa and Louie, and I was like, do I want him to be out of the photo? And then he actually instinctively went out, and this is the nuts person I am. I was like, no, Louie, come in! Like, I was like, what a choice I made. So there were a bunch of people, and Candace. Now, Candace and I had a friendly dynamic and relationship. She was on Andy's Girls at the height of BLM. I reached out to her and said, I was thinking about having her on and having a convo, and then I said, let's not do that. Anytime that you want, talk, and I'll put it with no edits, just whatever it is that you want to communicate and you want to say, let's put that up long form. And she was lovely and immediately agreed and sent me a great convo that she was essentially having directly with Andy's Girls listeners. And it was great. And I mean, I still believe that her wedding was, I guess, top 3, if not top 2, like most beautiful weddings on Bravo. And I really loved her, and I found myself getting very upset by some language that she was using on social media in arguments with a content creator. And they were, from everything that I heard, it was very contentious, not only on her side, that in many ways she was probably just responding to this person potentially going after her. I don't have a ton of information, but she was relying on tropes that, you know, air on fat phobic and body shaming stuff.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
it's hard and complicated when you're doing that on reality TV. It's harder when you're doing that in the Bravo community. And I say this acknowledging I have no idea of the specifics of anything going on. She very well may have felt on the defense and like, this is the only way I can process this. And we all make mistakes, and that's even a judgment of me thinking that it is a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have ways of communicating that another person might not love, but it's just our way of sometimes processing and combating someone else's shit. And I posted publicly, because she had apologized for some other social that she had posted. And so she apologized for some social, with an apology to the gay community about some previous tweets. And I commented and said, you know, it's fantastic that you're taking responsibility, and it would be great if we could have a little bit of an adjustment here on publicly fat shaming and body shaming people. Because I always think, like, especially on Housewives too, when you're having that kind of fight and relying on that kind of stuff, I don't think about the person you're fighting with. I think about all of the other people watching. And so we had a DM exchange about the fact that I had commented that, and it did not go terribly well. And I was very, very rattled by it. And the thing that I found very helpful was the fact that since I host a podcast about Andy's Girls, have I spoken to her since then? No, but having that kind of podcast where you're really forcing yourself, but it's genuinely just an opportunity to like look at someone through the lens of empathy and discovery and connection, that I didn't close the door on someone as potentially a housewife would. You know, like there's a responsibility on us. We're watching these shows. Candy has been at the heart of Potomac, certainly for the last several seasons, and I watched the things and challenges that she's been struggling with, her communication with her mom. I felt nothing but empathy for her. I think it's very, very complicated, and she's gone through a lot on the show, and I feel like I understand her. And it always kind of upset me that, like, we had such a terrible interaction. I'm sure that neither of us were thrilled with it. And then she's at Bravopalooza, and I was like, I just have to say something. So I went over with a friend of mine. I was like, I don't know what to say. And so a friend of mine who works on Bravo shows was chatting with her. And then I said, listen, you've been on my show before, and I just want to say we didn't have maybe a great interaction after, but I'm so appreciative of what you've shown on the show. And I just, you know, like all of that other stuff kind of goes away. And she was immediately like, you know, life has ups and downs and challenges, and I got really emotional, like, because I was just, because you're like, you know, it's getting to the heart of a person's triggers and vulnerability, and if you feel like that has been weaponized by someone, that's tough. And so I said to her, I was like, you know, I just really regret that happened, that exchange happened with us, because it certainly wasn't a benefit to me. Lord knows she's probably interacting with a zillion people, but it just really was a very Whitney Rose style healing journey to be able to just sit with her and be like, listen, you know, let's squash that beef. And maybe that's one-sided. Maybe that's just me internalizing the conflict, but I found it was like very healing to do.
Well, I remember that time. And, you know, I think when you are a person who is transparent, like you are, like Candace is, and you are someone who, like, you've shared things and people know where your sensitivities may lie. And if you feel like you're in a trusting place with someone and they turn that on you, it is very triggering. And I think she gets triggered like that as well, because people are constantly using those things. So it's like when she said, you know, things are up and down or whatever, that is the basis of Bravo in general. Like, there has to be conflict so there can be resolution. And I think it normalizes it in a lot of ways. But I'm glad you had that conversation with her, because I remember when that happened and how your feelings, like, were hurt. Like, that was not like saying, like, oh, your feelings were, like, no, sincerely, I think people kind of minimize the idea of getting your feelings hurt. And sometimes I have to say, like, I'm not angry. You just really hurt me.
Totally.
You know? Or disrespected me in that way.
Yeah.
Intentionally. So I'm glad you did that. I'm glad that you decided to get that off of your heart, because that is we walk around with so much baggage for so many things that really could be resolved with a conversation.
Yeah.
And as a result, you end up carrying those things.
Totally.
And I don't think that's great for anyone.
I completely agree. And, you know, I then sat down for whatever next panel I was watching, and I thought, you know, I'm ready to unblock Candace, because I would like to tag her in a Squash the Beef photo of us, of which there are several. And unfortunately, I could not find her name in the many, many names of people that I have blocked. Oh, no. And then it came to because a friend of mine, we were fully in another panel, like trying to Google, like, how does blocking work? Like, where are we? And it turns out that if you have blocked someone and then they have blocked you back, which I did not know was even a possibility, you're probably never going to find them on Sutton Strack's internet quite literally ever again. So now I'm like, how awkward. We've had this healing journey moment, and I guess the healing journey will continue independent of each other on social media.
Oh my God.
So Candace, if you're watching this, I would love for you to come back on Andy's Girls, not monologue style, although oftentimes guesting on Andy's Girls can give you a little bit of that monologue energy, but I would love to have her back. So if you could unblock me, that would be great.
Well, I feel like I spoke to Candace. She is on her part about her IVF journey is on my podcast.
Oh my God.
She has a very special voice in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people think about it like me, where I'm 42 and I'm like, is this something that's going to happen for me? But what I really want younger women to know is about being proactive about your fertility journey. And she was someone who showed us what that looked like. Yeah. So she seemed like she's in such a great place. She is a comeback queen. She is. So it was nice to talk to her, because I've had my ups and downs, like with feelings with everyone, but also that's why they make great TV.
And that's always the thing of, like, if you have the capacity to watch someone change and allow yourself to be open to understanding that growth, for a franchise that's all about complicated people, oftentimes as viewers we try to be as simple as humanly possible, of like, well, that person did something that pissed me off, so I'm done with them, versus sometimes people behave in ways that are incredibly negative or toxic or, you know, vile, or not specific to Candace, but just I'm just thinking of, like, I don't know, honestly, some stuff on New Jersey of recent, but, you know, like, there can be moments in which you can heartily disagree, and there's also the ability to think to yourself, wow, this person, I find myself really disliking this person. What about their behavior do I find so triggering? Because that's also a journey of, like, is it only the fact that they're behaving in a way that I disagree with? Or is there some sort of projection of my own insecurity that I'm placing on this? And that's the kind of conversation that I think is fascinating. And now you're in a space where you're talking to these people, and it's like, which version? Am I talking to the step and repeat version on the press line? Am I talking to the version that I've seen on edited episodes? Am I talking to the person who I think I would be talking to exactly in the way that I am outside of the world of Bravo, which is in and of itself a performance? It's fascinating to me.
I don't know how inside baseball, and I don't want to say something.
You can go at all fully inside baseball.
Well, okay. One thing that I find disheartening about Bravocon is the idea that Bravo creators are not represented in the press room. And the reason why, and because, you know, it's the outlets, like, you know, I'm a creator, but I'm like the Andy Cohen of DBL. No, I'm just kidding.
Amen.
Well, essentially, my production company, or my company, is contracted not only for me as a host, but also I create content. So it's almost like I do a collaboration between my daytime talk show and my podcast. And that's why I get in the room, because I'm on a nationally syndicated talk show, right? As a result of that, like, I'm an actual Bravo-holic. Not everyone in that room is a Bravo-holic. So you're not getting the same thought and depth on questions from the AP. And I'm not trying to like call out the AP.
No, of course.
You're just not going to get that. And what I find is a lot of Bravo-holics will say, hey, thank you for asking such thoughtful questions. Like, oh, you're really invested, because so many other outlets, and I'm not trying to be like, you know, bitchy about it, they won't ask those. And I think it's important to have people who are truly invested. Like, all of your content, or a lot of your content, has to do with Bravo and this network and the investment in these people. So I feel like there should be more content creators in the room. So if you had the choice between being in the press room or going to panels, which experience would you choose?
Well, first off, thank you for acknowledging that, because unfortunately Bravo does not consider podcasts to be media. So they seemingly had a whatever kind of ruling that anyone who was in the press room who had a podcast in addition to another form of seemingly traditional media. Anyone who just had a podcast, God forbid, like a top rated pod, that, you know, it did not matter. I'm sure there were likely a couple exceptions, but I actually don't know of any offhand. So what would I have liked to do? I would have liked to have had the choice, honestly. I did try to get press credentials. I wasn't successful. I'm covering the event for the second year in a row for the Daily Beast. We'll be writing a piece for them and talking to Bravo fans. But that didn't move the needle at all either, because they have been very, very withholding with press access and very, very generous with other opportunities. So there's like a sense of gratitude and appreciation, and also, you know, sort of not disinterest, but devaluing of podcasts, which is so unfortunate, because there's so few opportunities to have not only control of the content you're creating, but really long form, interesting conversations. And yet that's not the direction that they're interested in going in. And I don't know if it's a control issue or just a lack of awareness about the direction of media, but they don't, versus some other networks, they don't seem as interested in investing in podcasts, let alone podcasts that are focused on bringing attention to them. But speaking of attention, before we wrap, there was a little bit of a moment that you had at the press line that I want to get your thoughts on, because you had an exclusive with a housewife about something that was so shocking to me. I had no idea. So please, if you can tell the AGs and the comeback kids about some background of what you discovered and a conversation with a housewife about her reaction to it.
Yeah, so Marge from New Jersey, Real Housewives of New Jersey. So on X, I saw there was a leaked audio, and they said it was, quote, leaked. And it said that it was Marge, and she used the N-word twice, referring to someone that she saw, and they were there, and then, like, basically something to the effect of, like, you know, bleep the ends or something like that. Like, it was two prominent N-words, okay? And so they were saying, like, she should be fired, where's the cancellation, she's racist, and, like, all the stuff. And I just thought it was kind of strange, because Marge has a really distinctive voice, and I'm not saying that it 1,000,000% wasn't her, but she has a very distinctive voice, and honestly, it didn't really sound like her. And so it was a little, like, I was questioning it, not wanting to jump to any conclusion either way. Like, today was the first day I've ever spoken to Marge and her husband, Joe. I've never had, like, oh my God, like, I, you know, have to be a Marge fan. You know, I've had not a huge connection. I love that she drinks iced coffee with Snickers crema. It seems like something I want to have a signature drink at my house.
Yeah,
you know?
I want to have a signature iced coffee. 100%.
So I asked her about the leaked, quote unquote, leaked audio. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to respond to it. And she did. And are we going to play it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Marge, I want to talk to you about something that is a little bit heavier. I want to give you an opportunity to respond.
Okay, sure.
An audio came out
of course.
stating you said something that was racially insensitive.
I'm going to just say this right now. That was not my voice. I vehemently deny it. I've never said a racial slur in my life. I was disgusted, horrified. Everybody, my voice is very distinct. That was not my voice. And
generated AI.
And I was very, very upset. It's being investigated. We have someone in cybersecurity investigating it. That's a criminal activity. And I was very disappointed because I was like, I was hurt by it because I've been ridiculed, attacked many times, but I thought it was also hurting my fans and the people who love me right before Bravocon and trying to bring negativity to it and negativity to the network because that's what's so upsetting as well.
I don't want to link the two, but last season was it got kind of dark because of Teresa's new husband.
Yes.
And I'm curious how y'all are dealing with it off camera because it seems like it goes past the storyline.
I agree, and I don't want to say it's anybody on the show would do that to me at all, and I don't want to think those thoughts. But it's upsetting to me that right before this major event, something so horrible happened to myself, and brought negativity around this at all on a Twitter or whatever. And and something horrible happened to Joe Gorga as well, right? It's like, so I'm just going to leave it at that. It's being looked into by cybersecurity. Obviously, that is not me. I would never say something. I was horrified. Truthfully, I was horrified. That's why I wasn't even going to give it any light. And I'm just disgusted and taking it very, very seriously as a criminal activity.
As you should.
Yes.
As you should. But if you don't make the connection,
Yes.
I'm thinking it. I know a lot of people are thinking it.
Yes.
But I'm
I
so
don't
happy.
want to do that yet.
Yeah.
At all, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't
Well-
like to accuse anybody till it's a fact.
Yeah. Then that's fair.
We'll find out if it's
And
a fact.
we'll find out what
Yeah.
it's being investigated heavily by also a lot of people.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I thank you so much for your
Thank
time. I
you.
really wanted to give you an
I
opportunity.
appreciate that so much. Thank you.
So what are your thoughts?
I have questions. So this came out right before Bravocon. How did it come out? Who was the person who magically found this receipt on the side of a road?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
It started with a post, and then of course there were all of these comments and stuff underneath it. Yeah, I don't know.
I would want to follow the source that magically found this, and I also think coming off of the New Jersey reunion with a lot of questions around Louis' behavior and motivations and this Fakakta Bodidel thing, that it is interesting the timing of this coming out days before and it being so specific to Marge, who also acknowledged in the panel with for her section of New Jersey, which was today, which I attended, that there's nothing happening with her relationship with Teresa. So I think there are questions that I have without any information, all of this being just kind of confusing at a certain point. How upsetting, though, and right on the heels of Ramona being disinvited from the ball, which I need to have you come back to AG Classic to deep dive. There's something about it that doesn't pass the smell test for me. And I know Marge. I'm friendly with Marge, and it just feels... I mean, we all know that Ramona's a piece of shit. So it's like, with Marge, I don't see it at all. Not that I would have any... It sounds like somebody was out for blood, honestly.
Honestly, and listen, I'm a black woman, okay? I'm not going to, I don't want to be automatically rushing to a judgment or a defense of anyone that I don't know personally, but I did feel like it didn't pass the sniff test to me when I first heard it, because I actually will walk around the house and be like, oh, I need some iced coffee with Snickers Crema, because I mimicking her voice, and so I know what she sounds like, and I was like, it just doesn't necessarily sound like it was close, but it didn't really sound like her, So I don't know. I don't know. I do think that, I believe her.
Yeah.
To be very honest, and people might be upset about that. We all have to make our own decisions. I really believed her. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to say her piece because I thought it was important. And she said that I was the only person who asked. And my response was, maybe I was the most appropriate person to ask. So, I appreciated her, being open and saying what it is. And we had quite the conversation offline about being in situations like with friends who end up with partners like Louis. And she said she didn't want to point any fingers and, she didn't want to indict anyone. She only does that if she has all the facts. But she's definitely, doing an investigation, and she should.
Well, first off, I completely agree about your voice being important in which to have that conversation. I did not know of this happening. I don't have the pleasure of being on X.
Oh, yeah. Well, poor
oh,
you.
no. But I think I'm so thankful that you discussed that with her. And I also think there are so many questions about her friend's relationship. I do think that part 3 or part 4, how many parts were there for New Jersey? I think it was 3. Was it 3? Whatever the last part of the New Jersey reunion was, one of the darkest, most toxic things that I've ever seen, with so many questions around like safety, kids being doxxed and harassed. And it just made me feel viscerally uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is happening so close to Bravocon, right on the heels of a lot of attention to Ramona, is a genuine, what a terrible to be continued, but it's important to ask those questions and to get clarity and to also provide Marge with an opportunity to respond. And I think that what you did was important and good for many reasons. And I'm thankful to you for doing that as both a creator, but also just genuinely a fan. Like, those are the kinds of conversations that we need to be having.
Yes.
It's all happening.
It's all happening.
Happening.
But
Listen,
wait a minute, you didn't answer my question. If it was up to you, would you do the press room route or would you do the Bravocon experience route?
I would attempt to do both. I genuinely would. I would say, if there's a schedule of who's in the press room for whatever days, I would want to be in the press room for that time. But I like having a part of the energy of the conference, and also depending on the ways that they're sharing permissions for being in the press room. If you're having people on there who are doing podcasts, the goal would be to ensure that they are also getting a sense of the Bravocon culture, which is, it is what it is. The demographics and dynamics of attendees at Bravocon are relatively consistent for the last couple of years. And I think it's important to, be in, again, the rooms where it happened, the room where it happens, but plural. We've had a long day. I haven't slept. But I would ideally have both. I know that that's probably a little bit of a cop-out, but
no, I mean,
it's honestly how I feel.
Yeah, and I'm hoping to get a little bit. Last year I went on Sunday, but honestly, if you're talking to everyone, there's no way to do both unless you do like a Sunday experience. So I don't think it's a cop-out, but I do think that it should be your choice what you want to do.
Right, and hopefully next year Bravo will maybe open some of these doors. They've been so generous and wonderful to work with and collaborate with on so many different levels, and yet the final frontier for those of us who are podcasters and those of us who are also writers, it's kind of difficult to cross that line, but lines can be crossed in a positive way and doors can be opened. So we'll see what happens. Listen, Erica Cobb, tell the AGs where they can follow you on social, all that and more.
Yes, at Erica Cobb on all social platforms except for TikTok, which is I am Erica Cobb. Somebody stole my name.
How dare!
I know. Sarah, share with my audience where they can find and follow you and Andy's Girls.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. This has been a total delight and a joy. And you can find me on Instagram at Dame Galli. I have a bunch of Bravocon content there, as well as a lot of other stuff cooking. And of course, there's the Andy's Girls Patreon, where you get exclusive bonus episodes and so much more. And Andy's Girls comes out wherever you can listen, wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So there we are. Erica Cobb, thanks so much for coming back.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for coming back.
We're just a couple of comeback kids at the end of the day.
Yes, we are. And we in Vegas, baby.
It's a gamble, but we're here to win. We're here to win. On that note, guys, thanks so much for listening, and we will chat with you soon. Bye-bye.